while. I'm Melissa. I'm an alcoholic. That's quite a group. I'm nervous. Yeah, that's a big crowd compared to what I'm used to. Reidsville's a lot smaller than this, so y'all bear with me. I'm here tonight to tell you what it was like, what happened, what it's like today. First housekeeping, my sobriety date this time, July 3rd, 2013. I'm not a one-chip wonder. I'm hard-headed. It took me a few tries to get this thing, and I hope I've got it this time. I do have a home group, the fellowship group in Reidsville, the oldest group in the county. I've heard tell that there was one meeting a week there when they first started. I can't imagine getting sober on one a week. Sometimes I need more than one a day. So I have a sponsor. My sponsor has a sponsor. And when I can't get my sponsor, I go to my sponsor's sponsor. And I use other people in the group too. They don't even know they're sponsoring me, but they are. I do love this program, as Wallace said. I love the people in AA, and I thought I had friends before I came in here, but nothing compares to the friendship I found, the family I found in AA. I'm from Reidsville, born and raised. I was born the hospital there, the one hospital in Reidsville, 1979. I'll go ahead and get my age out of the way. Born to two crazy alcoholics. One diagnosed herself, the other is still kind of confused, but that's up to him. But they were absolutely nuts, and my life as a child was pretty crazy. My first memory, I guess 3-4 years old. I was angry with God. That's my very first memory as a child. My dog died. And I remember going outside, looking up at the sky and screaming at God, "You give me my dog back," and demanding my dog back. And he didn't give me my dog back, so resentment number one. I carried that for a long time. At home, I don't really remember. I think I blocked a lot out. More comes to me now as the years go by, but I blocked a lot of it out. There was a lot of fighting, a lot of insanity, a lot of outside issues. I'm an alcoholic, singleness of purpose, but a lot of outside issues growing up. My mom left when I was, I guess, 4 or 5 years old, just kind of disappeared. I wasn't real sure what happened to her. I found out later she was in prison, and I went to the prison to see her. My first memory really of her was looking through that glass, and there was the glass between us, and just looking at her, and that's not the woman that I pictured. That's not what I expected to see when I met my mom. That was an eye-opener. It's my reality that I had created in my head was not the reality that I was living in, and it was kind of a wake-up call at a young age. But she was in and out of treatment centers, prisons, man-to-man, bouncing around. Never knew when she would show up in the driveway, and then my dad would come out, and they would commence to fighting, and somebody would get beat up, and the kids would just be screaming, and it was just crazy. And my house was the party house growing up, too. My dad makes moonshine. Makes moonshine. They play a lot of banjos, a lot of guitar playing, a lot of making music, and just all that comes with that. People coming in and out at all times. It was the party pad. It was open for business, and never really knew who I was going to find at my house as a kid, or where they came from, or when they would leave, or what their intentions were. And remember that feeling of fear and that feeling of I don't belong here. How did I get here, and how do I get out? What's going on around me, and how do I stay safe? There was never any calm, or if it was quiet, I was a nervous wreck waiting on something to happen next. What's going to happen next? There's something always happened next. It was kind of like, okay, it's been quiet too long, let's get this over with. What are we going to deal with tonight? And Dad was the blackout drinker too. He doesn't, I really believe today that he doesn't remember a lot of what happened when we were children. At the time I thought, how could you forget the things you said and the things you did? But as my disease progressed and the blackouts progressed, I started realizing, he probably really truly does not remember a lot of what he said or what he did or where he went or what really happened or how he ended up where he ended up. I don't think, how we do. That's what we do. I was, growing up with just a man, I can remember doing the laundry, the cooking, the cleaning, dragging a chair across the floor, climbing up in it to cook at the stove, and then pushing the chair across the floor to the sink to do the dishes, and doing the little homemaker thing, trying to take care of my sister, and that the responsibility, I didn't mind that at all. I really didn't. It kept my mind occupied, and I still do those things today when I have to occupy my mind, and I just stay busy. I did that as a child, and whatever, just keep quiet, go with the flow. Don't cause any noise, no commotion. Don't ask for anything, just be quiet. So that's what I kind of grew up doing. School was easy for me. I don't know why God blessed me, but it was really easy. I didn't have to really do the homework. I could do it on the bus on the way to school and get good grades. I breezed through A's and B's with very little effort. I smiled. What happens in the house stays in the house. That's how we were raised. So I got to school and everything was fine. Everything was great, and there was a smile on my face. And had most of my teachers snowed. There were a couple through the years that saw through me and tried to break me down, but I never would allow that. That was not going to happen because, it was ingrained in me. You just don't tell. You don't. What happens at home stays at home. You keep your mouth shut. And I was real good at being quiet for a long time. Breezed through elementary school. But I watched the adults, and they seemed to be having a good time when they were drinking. They seemed to feel comfortable in their own skin, and I never felt comfortable. I never felt any sense of ease. I was always uptight and this nervous little kid, and I watched them drink, and I thought, that's probably why they feel comfortable. So at 5 years old, I decided that I'm going to steal a beer, and I'm going to steal a cigarette and a book of matches, and I'm going to go out to the well pump house. Nobody would find me there. By myself, a 5-year-old, I stole a beer, I stole a pack of matches and a cigarette, and I went out, commenced to drink the beer. It was horrible, but I held my nose, and I got the whole thing down and smoked that cigarette and gagged. I know I wasn't inhaling. I don't really know what that was about, but I felt fine. I don't remember much after that, but I woke up in my bed the next morning, and everything seemed to be pretty much okay, so there was no problem. It was okay, and I was going to do it again. Wasn't long after that, I went to school and got caught on the playground with a book of matches and a whole pack of cigarettes. I was passing them out to everybody else. Just making friends, Yeah. My grandparents, we've done tobacco. There was tobacco farms all around me, so I didn't really get in a whole lot of trouble. That's just what everybody did. Everybody pulled tobacco, everybody smoked tobacco, everybody farmed tobacco. The house we were living in was built on tobacco money, so it just was no big deal. And pretty much smoked after that for off and on. I still smoke. I wish I could quit. I'm gonna work those steps on it one day. But yeah, middle school came, and growing up, starting to mature a little bit, or supposedly mature a little bit, and decided I was going to do the whole cheerleading thing, and that came easy to me too. But I looked around, and I was different from everybody else. They had their parents there, and they didn't seem to communicate. I couldn't communicate with them. I was still, in a cheerleading uniform, sneaking on around the side of the school to smoke, and in a hurry for it to be over with. I don't really remember enjoying any of the games or really paying attention, or I'd done the cheers, I'd done what was expected of me, and I really didn't enjoy being there. I didn't fit in. And all the other girls on the cheerleading squad's moms were there, and my mom, I don't know where she was at. Anybody would ask, where's your parents? I really didn't know what to say at work. So they were at work all the time. They weren't, I don't know where they were at, but they were at work if you asked. I think everybody knew then. At one point, my mom did show up. I won't ever forget it. I was in 8th grade, and she showed up, and we were doing our thing, and she's just plastered. She's drunk. Just completely wasted. I thought, okay, I saw her come in, and I could tell from a distance. I knew. I didn't say anything. I tried to kind of hold it together, and then she fell up the bleachers, and then she fell down the bleachers. And I was like, oh, God, please don't anybody ask who that woman is, of course. Is that your mom? Yeah, that's my mom. Yeah, good stuff. So from there, at that point in my life, I was already drinking what I could get my hands on. The moonshine was pretty much around, and there's always some whiskey somewhere in the house, some beer somewhere, tobacco everywhere. My grandparents worked tobacco companies, and the farms were all around. It was just normal. It was a normal life to everybody around me, but I never felt like I fit in. So I continued to dabble and take a drink here and there, and I remember being outside in the cold and somebody passing around a mason jar, and I was freezing and my feet were cold, and it was December, January, February, it was freezing. You cold, little girl? Yeah, I'm cold. I was freezing. Here, this will warm you up. And these people, they didn't think anything about handing a small child a mason jar. And I took a drink, and it warmed me up. And from then on, I knew how to get warm. We didn't have a whole lot of heat in the house. There was a wood-burning stove, so if Dad drank a lot that night and passed out as he would, and nobody fed the fire, nobody fed the stove, you would wake up cold. So I learned how to get warm, and that white lightning will put it on you. So, yeah, it was my friend. High school came, and by then, I think I was pretty much already an alcoholic at that. I think I had already crossed the line. I really can't say. I don't know exactly when I crossed that line, but between the alcohol, outside issues, smoking every day, didn't want to go home. I didn't go home a lot at that point. I was old enough to, find places to stay with friends, figure something out. I did not want to go home because I looked just like my mom, and my dad would see me, and at certain times in his blackout, he thought I was my mom. And he would just go into a rage, so I just tried to avoid him. I tried to not go home and not be worrisome. I didn't want to be a burden. I didn't want to bother anybody. Remember my sister looks just like my dad. I look just like my mom. She'd say, everything would be fine if you just weren't here. And I believed that. I really did. I was like, she's like, he's always in a good mood until you come home. So I thought it was my fault. It's all my fault. And if I just don't bother, if I don't go home, everything will be fine. So I started pretty much staying away. And by the time I was 16, I did cheer a little bit in high school, but at that point, it's real strange to try to hide when everybody else's parents are picking them up. You have an away game, you're getting off the bus, their parents are waiting, and you don't have a ride. It's like, how can I sneak away and nobody see me so I can walk home later? I don't want anybody to see me, and I didn't quite know how to handle that situation, so I would always try to sneak away and wait for everybody else to be gone and then start walking home. Well, they started figuring that out and offering me rides, and I didn't want them to take me home. I never knew what they were going to find when they pulled in my driveway, because it would probably be a party, and there would be a lot of cars and a lot of stuff just happening, and I just really didn't want any part of that, so I quit cheering. I just kind of gave that up. I didn't fit in with that crowd. That was not something I needed to continue to do. So, of course, I found the crowd I did fit in with. By this time, I got the wise idea that I needed a fake ID to do the things that I wanted to do. So I took my cousin's social security card and birth certificate. This is back in the day before computers. They can't pull up on a screen a picture. So I've got her information and my face on an ID, and I can go anywhere, buy anything. And I think I was 14, right at 15 years old. Everybody knew that I could get the alcohol, I could get the cigarette, I could get whatever they wanted, so the party started. And it was pretty much on at that point. There was no going home, there was no rules, nobody cared where I was at, nobody ever asked. So I was not in any trouble. So it was just game on. But for some reason, I wanted to go to school. I think it's because a few of my teachers told me, they showed me some attention. They told me they were proud of me. I made good grades. And they were like, "You've done really good." So I didn't want to let them down. I wanted to continue with school, and I did that. And I continued to make good grades. Staying up all night, showing up, still half buzzed, sitting in class, just still breezing through, just making good grades. I don't know how, but I did that. And by the time I was 16, I was tired of kind of living here, there, everywhere. It had worn me out, I was wore down, and so I met a guy, and it seemed really convenient to move in with him. He had a place, he was older. It was really convenient because he was going to jail anyway, so I would be there by myself. So it was perfect in my mind, I'll have the place to myself, and he when he comes back, then we'll figure that out later, So he's gone to jail, and I'm 16, living on my own. At that point, I was working third shift in a restaurant, one that stayed open all night, still continued to go to school during the day. I actually did kind of settle down a little bit in that situation because for the first time I felt like I had kind of a home, kind of. But I knew it was temporary and he would be back soon. But he came out, the party continued. And, that's one thing I hated about my childhood was never knowing who was going to be at my house or what was going to happen at my house. I couldn't stand that unknown feeling of what's going to happen next and who's going to come in. And I woke up, and that's the exact same situation I put myself in. He was out of jail, and he was selling his outside issues, and there were people everywhere, all the time, just in and out, all hours of the night and day. And it's like, I can't do this, and I don't want to live this way. I knew at that point I did not want to live this way. I wanted to go to school. I wanted to do good, but I didn't quite know how to get out. And I was just wore out. So at 17, I decided I needed to go to treatment. So that's what I did. I went to the hospital and was like, I need help. I actually went to a counselor at school and was like, I need help. And she's like, okay, they've got a place for you. You can do this. I show up at the hospital, but I was 17 underage. They wouldn't allow me to sign myself in. I needed an adult, a parent. That was impossible. I didn't know where my mom was at, and my dad refused. He didn't want any part of that. He was not coming to a hospital to sign a piece of paper. I refused to leave the hospital. I told him I was just going to sit right there and they could help me figure something out. I was not leaving. I refused to leave. I'm staying right here. Hard-headed. And that's what I did. I don't think they believed that I was going to just sit there, but I sat there. I was not going anywhere. They called the police. And I see cops walking in. I thought I was going to jail. I really did. I really thought, these people want me out so bad, they're going to send me to jail. But they didn't. They took me before a judge and allowed me to be emancipated so I could sign myself into treatment at 17. And that's what I did. I stayed in that treatment. But I'm so brilliant, there's certain things that I don't want to give up. There's certain things that I have a problem with that caused all my problems, but alcohol, that's not one of them. That didn't cause my problem, so I'm not going to quit drinking. I'm just going to quit these other things, and that'll straighten me out. That's what I did. I came out and continued to drink, and it didn't take long. I was pretty much right back where I started. I went to one meeting, maybe two meetings in Reidsville. I walked down the basement of this church and I look around and I see a bunch of old, grouchy looking men sitting around. I was like, I don't think I belong here either. I didn't belong anywhere, but definitely not in that basement with those men. They looked at me like I was just crazy. 17 years old, stumbling down the steps and had nothing in common with them. Didn't know we did have something in common. I was not very open-minded at that point, so I stumbled my way back out and continued to live the way I was living. And at 18, I found out I was expecting. The drug dealer, of course, that I thought was a great person to live with, ended up being pregnant at 18 and scared to death. At that point, I was able to quit drinking and I was able to quit other things. I hadn't progressed that far, but I told the doctor, when they told me I was pregnant, I had been doing all these things. I'm 2 weeks pregnant, maybe 3 weeks pregnant, and I've done this. I went down the list. I was honest. I'm scared to death. The whole time I was pregnant, I dreamed that something was going to be wrong with this child, and I dreamed about alcohol. I would wake up and taste whiskey, my drink of choice, whiskey. I would taste it and just wander around looking for it. Like, did I really drink or did I not drink or what's happening? I dreamed that a lot. Should have been a pretty good sign that you might be an alcoholic, but of course not, I had a healthy baby girl, February 12th, 1999, 7 pounds, 6.4 ounces. And, at that point, the whole time I was pregnant, I wanted a different life for her. I knew what kind of life I lived. I didn't want that for my child. I didn't want to be that mother that I had. I wanted to be available and present, and those I will nevers started. I will never do this to my child. I will never do that to my child. I will never, ever. Oh, I was so full of myself. Still am, but full of it. But it was by the time I had her, I knew I had to make a change. I knew the situation we were in was not a situation to raise a child. I had to get out. So I started making decisions and working hard and hoarding money, saving money here and there to get away. And by the time she was a year old, I was able to. I was able to get out on my own, but it was a bad situation because he was not really nice. So even though I was on my own, my place kept getting robbed, and my tires kept getting flattened, and the ductwork kept getting pulled out from under the house, and the plumbing kept getting pulled out from under the house, and just things kept happening. I ended up in a battered women's shelter with a child. I had a house that I couldn't live in. It was unlivable because it had just been trashed. It was horrible. It was horrible. I got robbed 12 times in 5 years living there, and I claimed that I drank because I couldn't sleep. I was scared, and the only way I could sleep was to drink. And at that point, you know, my daughter's probably 2, 3, almost 4 years old, and I'm drinking at night. I'm able to go to work during the day. I can drink at night after she's asleep. I would do the bath time, book time, bedtime thing, and as soon as she was asleep, I could drink and drink myself to sleep. Wake up, go to work, function somewhat. But then I kept rushing through the bath time, rushing through the dinner time, rushing through the book time, and then I didn't want to even read the book. You know, I was just like, God, this kid won't go to sleep. I need a drink. And it wasn't very long. I was drinking in front of her. There was no more hiding it. It was just happening, and she saw it. I know she did. It just progressed. And by the time she was in 1st, 2nd grade, that morning drink came. Woke up one morning, and I don't know what time I passed out that night. I have no clue what time. I know I was drinking a lot. I was going through a half a gallon every 2 to 3 days. That morning drink came. I had to drink that morning. I knew I wasn't going to get her up to school. I wasn't going to get myself to work. Nothing was going to happen that day. I was just sick. It just wasn't going to happen. So since it's not going to happen, I might as well go ahead and drink. I was frustrated with myself and angry with myself, so I was like, okay, I'm not even going to get her up. Just turn the alarm off, and I'm starting to drink at 5:30 in the morning. I took a drink, and the shake stopped, and I quit throwing up. It's like, okay, what's happening here? Maybe I'll take another drink. I took another drink. I felt strong enough to get in the shower and to get dressed and get her up and get her to school. I was like, wow, I found the cure. I found it. I can do this now. This is what I'm missing. Now I can function. And that's what I did. I just commenced to drinking 24 hours a day. It became my morning routine at 5:30 to stand in front of the coffee maker and choke down a shot. Have to keep one down to get myself to the point of taking the shower and getting ready for work and getting the day started. And I would stand, I would have a funnel, my half a gallon, my half pint whiskey bottles, my airplane bottles. It was the whole production every morning to get ready for the day. My coffee cup. It would be full of whiskey. I would put a little bit of coffee in it for the smell, but it was full of whiskey. I would take my kid to school, drive through the school parking lot, and I'm drinking. And I know all the other parents are doing that too. There's no way they put up with all those kids without drinking. It just doesn't happen. So I feel like I'm normal. This is what normal life is about. That's my reality, and it is normal. It's crazy. It's still hard for me to believe that was me now. I don't know how I didn't kill a kid in that parking lot. I don't know how I didn't kill somebody driving down the road, but I would have my airplane bottles ready for my 10 o'clock break and my 2 o'clock break. My half pint bottle would be slid between the seat of the car and the console. That was for the morning drive. I'd have another half pint bottle for my lunch, another half pint bottle for the drive home. I still had my coffee cup. I could just pour it in there. I'm not drinking it going down the road. That would be obvious. You have to sneak it in the coffee cup and look like you're just drinking coffee all day. So that's what I did. I functioned this way for years. I don't know. I don't know how. It makes me sick to think about it. Sometimes I come out of work and I look at that car. I'm like, I used to be in a rush making a beeline for that car to drink hot whiskey. It's 90 degrees, 95 degrees outside. The car I was driving then had black leather interior, black paint, hot. I don't know how hot this whiskey was, but I'm going to drink it. And that's where I was at. That was my life. I rarely went out. I went to work during the day, and I started going to night school. I wanted to get a degree. So I rarely went out. It was just drink all day and function and just go through the motions. I didn't enjoy my child. I look back now and I wished I'd give anything to stop and just sit on the floor and play with her. But she's 17 now. She does not want to play with me. It's like, I wasted that time because I just wanted her to go to sleep or go play. And she's an only child. She never went and played in her room with a brother or a sister. She was always there, and I just wanted this kid to leave me alone so I could drink. I wasted my child's childhood. That guilt, still working on that. Still working on that. But through the years, as she got older, she was, Mom, why don't you not drink? I took her to Disney World, just the two of us, and I hated it. It was horrible. It was ridiculously hot. They didn't serve whiskey. They served overpriced beer. I wasn't going to waste my time with that. I just wanted to leave. I didn't enjoy it. And she's like, we were still in Florida once. She said, Mom, why don't you not drink today? And I told her, okay, I won't drink today. I meant it, but I had to drink. I would start shaking, and I would get really, really sick, and I had to drink. I couldn't stop. I came in and out of AA, and I think, the most time I was ever able to really get maybe 60 days max. I don't really even think I got that before I would be back to drinking. I couldn't figure it out. I would be at home. I'm this alcoholic. I know I'm an alcoholic. I've admitted this. Why can't I get this? There's something still wrong with me. Everybody else is getting this program, and they're working these steps, and things are happening, and they're not drinking, or maybe they are drinking. They're just lying about it. I thought that for a while, too. Yeah, but I'd be at home with my whiskey and the big book and crying over this big book, like, why can't I get this? What is wrong with me? And at this point, where I was living, they were having a meeting in my backyard. The fellowship hall backed up to my backyard. Every Saturday, these people would be in my backyard laughing and having a good time. And I'm like, what the hell? That man made me so mad. He did. I would be outside mowing and hey, Melissa, they knew me and I knew them. Why don't you come to a meeting? No, I'm not ready. I was always honest with them. I kept friends in the program. And they would see me around town. Why don't you come to a meeting? We haven't seen you in a while. I'm not ready. I'm still drinking. When I'm done, you'll know. You'll see me. I know where you're at. So I knew, but I just didn't think it would work for me. I just really thought there was something really wrong with me. I had the perfect example of why I needed to quit. Back in, I think, 2009, my mom had still been in and out of my life, homeless, living out in the woods, living hotel to hotel, state to state, town to town, never knew where she was at. But I got a call, and it was bad. I was like, okay, it's always bad. What do you mean? I went to the hospital she was at, and I just thought she was drunk. She was just drunk. I'm like, I had a bad attitude. I was drunk too. Like, you were bothering, you're interrupting my drinking. But she was more than just drunk. It took a couple of days, and I went back. I thought, well, she'll sober up. Day 1 came and went, day 2 came and went, day 3 came and went. She didn't sober up. She's been in the hospital. I'm like, are you sure she hasn't had any alcohol? Why is she not sobering up? She's still just as drunk on day 3 as she was day 1. I was like, okay, we'll wait it out a couple more days. They're like, well, we have to do something. This is not a long-term facility. You need to do something. I don't know what to do. I have no idea what am I supposed to do with her. She can't come to my house. The last time she did, everything got stole. I don't know what to do. She just didn't sober up. After 6-7 days, I realized she's really not going to sober up. She's got wet brain, and she's drunk around the clock without having to drink. The alcohol's been removed. She's not in DTs, but she's still drunk. She thinks it's 1977. And she thinks, still today, she thinks she's in Fuquay-Farina. I just got tired of arguing. I'm like, yep, that's where you're at. She's really in Reidsville. She has no idea where she's at. Just recently she's been in a hospital bed in a diaper for years now, not able to get up at all. Her legs just don't work now. And just recently she went blind and didn't even realize she was blind. I noticed her left eye, like the way she would turn and look at me, she would have to turn all the way around. I was like, something's not quite right. So get the flashlight out, and we were going through the motions, and I realized she's blind in her left eye. Well, I went the other day, and when I walked in, I had got my hair cut, and the nurse said, oh, you got a haircut. You got a lot cut off. And my mom said, let me see. She said, I can't see. She finally realized she's blind. She's been sitting there blind in both eyes for I don't really know how long, and she finally realized she can't see. She's so in her own world, she doesn't even know she's blind. And within like 2-3 minutes, she forgot that she was blind. I just changed the subject and we move on. It's like, I don't know if y'all seen that movie, 50 First Dates. It's just like you change the subject and you just change the subject and keep it moving. Yeah, that's where she's at. She won't recover. When people say, some won't make it back, that's true, because she won't make it back. She actually planted the seed for me. She told me about AA. When she was in prison one time, somebody brought the meeting into the prison where she was at, and she started going into the meetings, and she came out. I think she did stay sober for almost a year before she decided to drink again. So she planted the seed, and thank God she did, because I kind of knew it worked for her. If it could keep her sober for almost a year, it could work. But I just didn't know if it could work for me. I don't know. There was something wrong with me. This time, getting down to what happened, a lot of people say they wake up in a jail, wake up in a hospital, they've got a DWI, they've killed somebody drinking and driving. I've heard horror stories, but none of those things happened to me yet. I just got to that point, that hole in the soul, and looking at my kid and just feeling the guilt and just sick and tired of being sick and tired. I cannot explain what happened, because nothing out of the ordinary happened in my life. I didn't wake up in a jail or an institution. Nothing dramatic happened. I just woke up July 3rd, 2013. I had just enough in the bottom of that half a gallon to get the shakes off. It was almost time for the liquor store to open. I knew if I drank that, the shakes would come, and I'd get it together and get to the liquor store and start this stuff all over again, because that's just what we do, the never-ending cycle. I just sat there. I broke down. I don't cry. That's one thing I don't. My daughter even she'll tell you, Mama cries in the shower maybe once a year. I don't have time for that. We don't do that. We got stuff to do. I just broke down. I started crying. I'm like, I just can't do this anymore. I just am tired, and my life is miserable, and like I never let people get close to me. I had friends, but I kept them in a compartment. Like I didn't want them to, don't get too close to me. I've got stuff to do. I'm too busy. And I guess that comes from the way I was raised too, the family, the keeping people out. You got to be convenient for me, or you don't get to be in my life. Yeah, full of myself, told you. But that morning it was enough. I'd had enough. I hit my knees, and this God that I went outside screaming at when I was a kid, give me my dog back. I guess I finally said a prayer. I don't know. My aunt, when I was a little girl, sent us to church on like the little van once in a while, and they told me if you memorize John 3:16, they'll give you candy. And me being good at school and stuff, it was nothing for me. I memorized it because I wanted that candy, and that was the reward. It wasn't having a relationship with a higher power. It wasn't me communicating with my God. It was that candy. I didn't know how to pray. I had no idea how to talk to whatever power there was in this world. I didn't have a clue, but that morning I just couldn't live that way anymore. I hit my knees and said, God, help me. Nothing really happened. There was no burning bush. I hear people say they asked God to remove the obsession, and it's gone. It didn't work that way for me. It was gradual. Maybe I'm the educational type. I don't know, but it just didn't work that way for me. I didn't want to go to treatment. I knew I couldn't leave my kid. I really didn't have anybody to help step in and take care of her. So I don't know. I poured that whiskey out. I never wasted alcohol. I poured that out, and that was like, okay, something's different here. Something is different. Something's got to give, or I'm going to kill myself at this point. I had already gone through thinking of how I could kill myself, and I don't want anybody to have to clean up after me, so I'm going to go out in the woods. But then what if coyotes, we live in the country, what if coyotes or something gets me, and my kid thinks I ran away because I didn't want her? I'm sick thinking, how am I going to do this? I can't live this way anymore. It was just very sick thinking. And, I remember my people from AA that morning and made that call. It's like, okay, what do I do? I'll do anything. And I'm hard-headed. I came in and out. I wouldn't listen to anybody because I wouldn't listen, but I was ready to listen to just about anything. They could have told me to paint myself purple and chop off all my hair. I'd have done it. Just whatever. I can't live this way anymore. And I ended up basically detoxing in an AA meeting, in the rooms, in one of my friends' houses. I went to his house and laid on his bathroom floor detoxing. It was horrible. People were like, you should go to detox, but in a way, yeah, it was dangerous, and I don't suggest anybody else detox that way. But I remember it. It was painful, and I don't want to go through that again. When I have a hard day and I think about a drink, I think about laying on that bathroom floor, and I think about how I felt. I don't ever want to feel that again. I don't ever want to be that sick again. I really don't. Within 3 or 4 days, I was starting to kind of come around a little bit to where I wasn't as sick, and I was trying this meeting thing and trying to read this book, and nothing was sticking, and I thought, well, service work. I hear him talk about this service work, so I'm going to make coffee. I was still shaking so bad I could not make coffee. It was just, the water was spilling out of the coffee pot, and a lady took it out of my hand. She's just like, maybe next week. Maybe, let me help you, maybe next week. Like, okay, I'm just a wreck, okay. And I just sat there, like, I don't know if I was absorbing anything, but the meetings were from 8 to 9 o'clock, and I knew that was the hardest hour of the day for me. I'm not a beer drinker, so walking into a store, it bothered me, but not as bad as that 8 to 9 o'clock. Sitting in those meetings kept me from going to that liquor store. When I left the meeting, even when people were getting on my nerves, everything got on my nerves when I was trying to get sober. Everything irritated me, but be sitting in there thinking, it's almost 9 o'clock and that liquor store's almost closed. I'm going to sit here and I'm not going to move until that liquor store is closed. Man, it kept me kind of where I needed to be for the first 6 months. It took me a while, but it gradually started getting better. One of the old timers told me to pray in the morning and ask God to keep you sober during the day, and if at night you're still sober, thank Him. I started doing that, and I'm like, I don't even know what I'm praying to. Why am I doing this? I had no idea why I'm doing this, but I'm doing it because I'm willing to do anything. I don't want to live that way anymore. I'm doing it, and I'm staying sober. It was amazing to me. Like, I never thought I could actually stay sober. I thought I was going to live like my mother and die like my mother. That's really what I kind of came to that point in my life. That's just how it's going to be. But it just started working. I don't know what started working. You people started working on me. God started working on me. I guess I opened the door just enough for Him to sneak in, and now I can't imagine my life without my higher power, the God of my misunderstanding. I still have issues, and we still argue back and forth some days because I'm still very hard-headed, and I still get in my wheel. I want to live my life. I want to do the things that I want to do, and it's all about God and His will. I'm glad it is too, because life's so much better. It really is. It's not all fairy tale, and I have things happen. Life comes at me, life on life's terms, and learning how to deal with that. Learning that acceptance is the answer to all of my problems today. When I'm disturbed, it's because I find some person, place, thing, or situation, some fact of my life unacceptable to me. I say that so much because the world does come at me. The 17-year-old daughter knows everything. She's in love, and this boy, I can't deal with that. I can't even deal with that. I have to accept it. That doesn't mean I have to like it. That does not mean that I have to, say, okay, this is acceptable behavior. No, I just have to accept it because it is what it is, and I have no control over that. Acceptance is the answer when it comes to her, but she hates drinking. She still hasn't drank. She's 17 years old, and she hates alcohol because of me. I'm grateful for that too. I'm very grateful for that. By the time I was her age, I was full-blown. I had already been to treatment. And getting honest with her about that stuff, it's strange. It's strange being honest with anybody, especially her. We get honest. I told her, her whole life I spent in a drunken stupor, basically. I functioned. I went to work, I graduated, I went to school, I got a 2-year degree. It took me forever, but I got it, going to night school and hiding her on campus and staying drunk. I'm scared to death now. I want to go back to school, but I've never gone to school sober. I haven't been sober in so long. I don't know if I can do the homework. I'm intimidated by that now. I want to try, and I'm going to try, but I'm scared, as I really don't know how long it's been since I've done any type of homework sober. I don't know if I can do it, but I'm going to try at some point, and just learning how to function without alcohol in my life, without the routine, the full-time job of keeping all the bottles and making sure there's enough for the shakes and playing those games we play, used to say, okay, I'm going to just get enough to where I'll run out on Saturday and then Sunday I'm going to dry out. I did this over and over and over. I never dried out on Sunday. I would run out, and then I would be finding either some white liquor, or going to the store and getting beer that I can't drink. I hate beer. It takes too much of that to get a buzz. I can't drink enough of that to get a buzz. That just irritates me. And wine, I don't do that. That's a headache in a bottle. That's too sugary. No, I can't do that. Figured out the liquor store in Virginia opens from 1 to 6 on Sunday. So, yeah, that became a habit. It was finally, just forget it. I know I'm going to drink. I might as well just stock up. So I'm glad I don't have to live that way today. I really am. That sucked. I mean, that word's not even strong enough. It was horrible. That was really. I can't believe that was me. I can't believe now, being sober, what life can be like. I never thought I'd ever have fun again. I didn't have fun drinking, though. I thought, how am I ever going to have fun? I was not having fun drinking. If I ever went out, I rarely went out with friends, but if I did, we would go to a bar. I would be the one in the bathroom drinking because I don't want people in the bar to know I drink that much. Like, what? You're in a bar. You don't want people to know how much you drink in a bar? You might have a problem. I don't know. And then I couldn't wait to get home so I could really drink like I wanted to. What kind of life is that? Today life is so good. I can go anywhere without having to make sure I have enough bottles around. I don't have to do that today. It's a freedom that I've never felt in my life. And working these steps, like doing the step 4 and 5, it was hard. It really was. That step 4, I did not like that at all. But my sponsor told me, I was all negative. Everything happened was negative, negative, negative. For every 3 things, write something positive. Maybe that'll help you. And it helped me get through it. It did. It helped me get through that step 4. And during that step 5, it kind of like I finally gave myself permission to just be a human being. I never felt human. I never felt comfortable in my own skin. I still don't. I'm working on that. I have moments where I do, but it's rare. But I'm working on it. But I'm allowing myself to just be human and just say, I don't know. I don't have the answers. I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to work these steps. I'm trying. I don't know how to pray. I talk to God all the time, and I'm like, it's a habit now. Hey, God, it's me. I still don't know how to pray, so I'm just going to talk to you for a minute. That's how I start every prayer. Everyone. I know he laughs at me. I know my little guardian angels laugh too, because at this point, it's been over 3 years. I pray constantly. I should know how to do it by now. I don't. It's okay. It's okay. I just keep trying. This thing, and the prayers help. The 3rd step prayer helps me a whole lot. I have to get outside of my will, because my stinking thinking, it makes such a mess. It gets me in a world of trouble. And life goes so much better when I don't have to think that much. I might be smart and I might be able to breeze through a bunch of books and work in school and make good grades, but I'm not that smart. I need to just not think. I need to turn my life and will over to the care of God. The biggest thing I need to think about every day is doing the next right thing. Is my next motive, is this going to help somebody else? I don't even need to think about if it's going to help me, because that'll get me in trouble too, because I can rearrange my thoughts. I can rearrange everything to make it beneficial to me. I don't even need to go there yet. I just need to think about helping somebody else, and if it's beneficial to somebody else. And if it's not, stop, pause, continue to pray or talk or whatever I'm doing to this higher power that I'm still working on learning and understanding. That's all I've got. That's where I'm at, and I do feel like I should be further in this program than I am right now, but I am where I am for a reason, and I just keep working. Like, I'm back on step 4 again. I'm doing this again. It's like a repeat. I need to do this again, because every time I do it, something new comes out, and the longer I stay sober, the more defects I realize I have. The forgiveness, like forgiving people, that is so freeing too. Like, the more I realize how screwed up I am, how can I judge anybody else? How can I judge my mom? Like, I don't know how hard it was for her to live the life she lived. How can I judge that? All I could do is feel the hurt and the pain and the anger and the resentment and the frustration. That's a waste. That's so wasteful. I'm so glad I got to learn to forgive her while she's still here. She's not doing very well right now, and I don't really know how much time she's got left. I've heard other people say that they've had to make amends to people that have passed. I'm grateful. I'm lucky to be able to do that while she's still alive. I really am. life's good today. It really is, and I don't want to give it up. I want to keep coming back, and I want to keep doing this thing every day. But I do know I just have today. I'm an alcoholic, and I'm just as far away from a drink as that. So, anyway, thank y'all for putting up with me, and I'm going to shut up. Thank you.